Board with Nord.
Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm Joe Rimmy, your host, joined today by Ian Doyle. How are you, Ian?
Hi.
Hi, Ian. You meant to say a little bit more than that.
Hello, it's Friday and the weather is typically English summer. It's terrible.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's getting me down a little bit, this weather. Is it getting you down, Theo Squires?
Yeah, I miss the sun.
I miss the sun too.
Not just
That's it. Thank you for listening to the Blood Red podcast. Thank you for listening. We're live on YouTube, so if you're watching, drop a comment in, ask us a question, make an observation, give us a like, press the bell to subscribe. If you listen on Apple Podcast or elsewhere, give us some stars, give us a rating, give us a review. We love to read them. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to NordVPN for sponsoring this podcast. It's really appreciated. It helps us do what we do, and to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred, and our link gives you 4 months extra free on a 2-year plan. There's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the podcast description box. Get on board with Nord, Ian Doyle.
Indeed.
Yeah, quite glad I came up with that.
I thought Theo came up with it.
Did you
thought
get
Joe did, to be honest.
I'm sorry.
I think we were all present when it was collective coming up.
Well, we were here in body, if not in spirit.
If Nord come knocking for me, I'm definitely taking credit for it. We've got some things to talk about.
Do we?
Nice. We do ish. Plenty to talk about. Got Taylor Swift to talk about.
Are we going to do Taylor Swift first?
No, we'll get on to
do that
Taylor later.
Yeah,
We'll keep people waiting for Taylor. We'll start with transfers. Transfers and Taylor is what I pinned this podcast as. We'll start with transfers. We'll start with Leny Yoro. Great name. Really like the name. Leny Yoro. He's 18, plays for Lille, and he's interesting Liverpool.
He is. He's interested in a lot of clubs. In fact, he... having done a quick Google on him, he made his debut when he was 16, just over 2 years ago. Second youngest player in Lille's history, but really, he's been the talk of most of Europe for the past 12 months, hasn't he? Since getting into the Lille team, staying there, and he's not made it to the France national team yet, has he? But he's just played for the under 21s. He
would have been in the Olympic squad.
That's right. Yeah, he's gone through all the age groups very quickly.
To be fair, France have a lot of very good centre backs.
Yes,
they do. Yeah.
They're like England in the sort of late 90s, early noughties when they had millions of centre-backs.
Did they?
Remember that? When they had, early noughties. Yeah, they had
Terry,
Sol Campbell, Ferdinand, Carragher.
Tony Adams.
Ledley King. Martin Keown for a bit.
Yeah, he was about 50 then though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was still playing for Arsenal, wasn't he?
True.
Jonathan Woodgate.
Anyway, going back to Leny Yoro. Yeah, obviously Liverpool are interested in, but as I say, so a lot of other clubs. Liverpool would quite like to sign him, so would a lot of other clubs. Looks as though Real Madrid are the favourites, as they normally tend to be when they set their mind on a player. They want him. They see him as, I hate this phrase, a generational talent. What does that even mean? But the point is that he's out of contract at the end of next season, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to sign a new one. But by all accounts, he'd quite like to go now because he sees this as an opportunity to. I mean, it's a bit early to move to Real Madrid, isn't it? Although having said that, they're getting quite a few players very, very young now, more and more of them, which is interesting because
it's a massive centre-back crisis as well this year.
That's true.
They've always bought South Americans quite young as well. They've brought them over, haven't they?
So this is slightly different, but apparently he'd quite like to go. And of course, Lille, I think they initially wanted 100 million euros. That's not going to happen. Still, they still think, from what I've read and understood, is that they're still asking for a fair whack, which is about 60. Real Madrid won't pay that. That's why he hasn't gone there yet. And so Liverpool, while understanding and accepting the player wants to go to Real Madrid, or certainly looks as though he's going to go there, doesn't mean the transfer's done. So Liverpool are keeping an eye on it and going, well, if Real Madrid can't get it done, we'll see what we can do. Smacks a little bit of the Casado stuff, doesn't it, from last year? I know a different type of player, different type of profile, but he was meant to be going to Chelsea. Chelsea just couldn't get the transfer done. And the minute Liverpool come in and put a bid, suddenly it's like, oh, well, we've done it, Dan. So I do wonder what will happen there. I wouldn't be putting any money on Lenny turning up at Anfield anytime soon unless he's playing in the Real Madrid team that will probably knock Liverpool out of the Champions League.
Liverpool do have one little advantage, don't they, in that they know his agency very, very well.
Yeah, they do. They've worked with him a few times now over the last few years.
Gestafute.
Jorge Mendes's agency.
Gestafute, sorry.
They represent Fabinho, Diogo Jota, Darwin Núñez, and Liverpool have had these really good relations with them since they signed Fabinho in 2018, getting that deal done really quickly. really quietly as well. It was,
Yeah,
it was very much a shock at the time. I suppose Jota was as well. So that could work in Liverpool's favour. Obviously, Julian Wardy's now back, part of the FSG family, and he was
Hashtag FSG family.
he was a leading voice in getting Darwin Núñez over the line, but he's the one who's forged those strong relationships with the agency.
Yeah.
So Liverpool, they're going to be well on top of what's happening with Yoro. They'll know just how close he is going to Real Madrid, or if there is a chance, and they'll be kept updated on it. If there's an opportunity to pounce, you'd expect them to make that move.
Got a quick important question from Paul Lee. He says, "Where's Ian Doyle? This guy's too happy. Have the Red Men TV people cheered you up?"
Oh yeah, I was on there, wasn't I? Yeah. The podcasts are available, and I was doing the Journo Insight because Ghosty's obviously over in. Well, he was over in Barcelona. Salou, yeah. It's Salou, yeah. Which is near Barcelona. He was in Barcelona the other day, but no, I just think because it's Friday and I've just worked 8 days straight, and I'm off after today for 2 days, so I'm just delighted that I've finally made it this far.
Yeah, that rota is great, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks. Whoever does that rota needs a bit of.
Gave you 2 days off. Give you a nice weekend off.
You're supposed to get 2 days off. Everybody gets 2 days off. You don't all get 8 in a row and nothing's happening. Anyway, go on.
Going back to Lenny Yoro, I mean, Real Madrid, obviously you said saying it reminds you of the Caicedo deal. Liverpool have been here before, haven't they, with Tchouaméni? Maybe slightly less so with Bellingham.
Mbappe to an extent.
Mbappe, yeah.
But once Real Madrid set their gaze on certain players, it doesn't seem...
They can't sign every single player in history, though, can they? There's going to be some players that Real Madrid don't sign, and obviously over time things will change and people won't want to go there anymore, and I'm looking forward to that, to be honest.
How long have we been saying that, though? Like they've just been dominating European football for the past 25 years.
15 years ago, people were running to go to Real Madrid, were they? Although someone's now going to tell me that's when Ronaldo joined, which I haven't just thought about it, probably was. So well done to me there.
And they got like...
exactly. 20 years ago. Yeah, well, it's always been they've not always bought every single player, is what I'm saying. And certainly they haven't always bought the younger players. It tends to be more of the established players which they've wanted. So that's been a bit of a change in the way that they've done things. And it's helped them because when the players haven't then worked out, they've been able to sell them for loads of money. I think we mentioned it the other day. If you look at Real Madrid's net spend, it's actually always really good. Certainly comparison to some major Premier League team, not Liverpool obviously, but some like City, United, certainly Chelsea, Tottenham, probably Villa, teams like that. But yeah, ultimately this one's probably going to be down to the player. I think if Liverpool could sign him, they would sign him in the sense that they'd pay the money for him because obviously they need a centre back and also he's somebody that could be for the future as well as for now, which is the ideal. But ultimately it comes down to whether or not Real Madrid can sort a deal, because if they can't, Liverpool, along with United and PSG, they'll be there knocking on the door and saying, all right, well, head over here if you want.
Well, United, I suppose. Sorry, Theo.
Because he was at the Champions League final, wasn't he? He was watching it with you.
Yeah, I was at the Champions League final. I'm not joining Real Madrid.
But no, like Real Madrid, they had Bellingham there, didn't they, when Liverpool lost in Paris? I think Tchouaméni might have been in that one as well. You don't really know where they get these tickets from, but seeing as Bellingham met Zidane, it certainly seemed to be part of the schmooze, and you wonder if Yoro being there was part of it again.
Yeah, I mean, the Man United thing, obviously they're quite keen on Jared Branthwaite. If they get him, it might mean that they're going to commit less money to that area of their team and give Liverpool a bit of a boost. So I suppose it really does depend on Real Madrid. I'm quite happy with it. I think Liverpool, it shows that they're after the right sort of player.
Yeah, Liverpool have to be seen to be in for these kind of players.
Yeah, exactly. And he's all the big clubs seemingly after him. He's played a lot of games for an 18-year-old. He's clearly very, very highly rated. And it's good to see them going after the best young centre-back, probably.
He's also got a lovely tash.
Yeah,
lovely tash. There isn't enough room for that in football these days.
Do you think either way it signals that Liverpool will certainly try and sign a centre-back?
Well, we've known that for ages, haven't we? They're going to sign a centre-back. It's just a matter of who it's going to be.
Think it's become their priority this summer?
Well, I wouldn't say priority in the sense that I'm not in the mind of Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, but if you've got two positions that you would say at the top of the list, one is a wide forward and one is a centre-back. Yeah,
Gyro from the Reb family is present. Thank you very much for listening. And hello. Do you think there's a small chance that Real Madrid commit in? I mean, I know they got him on a free, but they've committed a hell of a lot of money to the Mbappe deal. There was different different reports for his signing on.
Alphonso Davies as well.
Sorry?
Alphonso Davies, they're going for him as well, aren't they?
Yeah. There was different reports as to Mbappe's signing on fee, but it was like ridiculous. It was as
basically
much
a transfer fee.
As a transfer fee. So do you think there's a little bit of chance that Mbappe could have been helping Liverpool by making that move, and Real Madrid will now haggle over the fee for Yoro and give Liverpool a chance?
There'll be a bit of haggling. Like if it's 60 million, whatever, Real Madrid not wanting to pay that, they always seem to find a way to haggle it down and get what they want. Like, that's what they did with Shermany. That's what they did with Bellingham. Like Bellingham's fee looks a bargain now, doesn't it, compared to what Rice went for, what Caicedo went for a couple of weeks later than that. They just always seem to find a way.
I suppose if you're Lille and he's out of contract in a year's time, despite they might want, you said 100 million euros, and that's probably come down already. But their chairman said, doesn't?
He said he'll go along with their former Liverpool target, Jonathan David.
Yeah.
So writing's on the wall. Their former manager, he said in April that he will go and be at one of the biggest clubs in Europe within the next 6-12 months. So it's going to happen sooner rather than later. It looks like it will happen this summer. And yeah, they put in a lot of money on Mbappe, but they always seem to find a way to get who they want, whether that's bringing in the rest of the targets on free transfers or buyback clauses like we mentioned on Monday. But when it's a major target, Real Madrid always seem to be successful. It's just the way they do it. They don't seem to be stung the same way as Barcelona with the financial difficulties. They've obviously got that pedigree there. So if they really want him, they'll get him.
Yeah, Real Madrid just sell off parts of the training ground if they need to get a bit of money. I'm sure they get a little bit of help from the Spanish government anyway. But
you don't like Real Madrid,
we could be here all day about this.
They're sure top 5 hated clubs.
Well, funny enough, they've seen to ball playing white. I don't even hate Tottenham, let's be honest. I just found it funny. They only hate Real Madrid.
Oh.
Yeah, just them.
Why do you hate Real Madrid?
Just to be honest, it's got nothing to do with the players. I love Ancelotti, by the way.
Yeah.
And the fans are great. It's just the whole.
I actually think this Real Madrid team right now is pretty likeable.
Yeah, totally.
I love Bellingham. I think he seems a great personality.
Yeah. I almost think it's just the president just annoys me, and he kind of the whole European Super League thing annoys me as well.
Anyone who wins all the time.
What about the Champions League final defeats? Does that annoy you that much?
I mean, that happens. Teams lose. That's more of an annoyance than hate. You don't hate somebody because they keep on beating you. To be honest, that would just be stupid. That doesn't mean you would enjoy it when you then win.
My frustration. I don't really hate Real Madrid, but I find them.
Hate is obviously. I'm not going to go out and start burning the ground down or something like that. But I just don't like the sense of entitlement. You know what I mean? It's not. It's
if
not
it burns down tomorrow.
The burn about.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I just don't like.
Well, he's got the weekend off. You don't know where he's going.
Exactly. You shouldn't have given me 2 days in a row. I've got enough time to plan it and execute it and get back. Actually, I'm giving away too much here, aren't I?
Yeah.
Going back to Real Madrid, it's interesting that when Liverpool come in for a player, the price goes up. When Real Madrid come in for a player that wants to join them, the price goes down.
But don't you think that's player power?
Yes, exactly. That's it.
So Lenny Yoro will be saying to Lille, I've got a year left on my contract. I'll either sit here and leave and go to Real Madrid in a year, or you let me go now for a fee. And that's why I think, unfortunately, Liverpool probably will lose out in this case because
that's to do with the reputation of Real Madrid. And that feeds into their sense of entitlement, which is what annoys me.
And Real Madrid, let's face it, probably are happy to play a bit dirty and say to the player, "Come on, push to come here, and we'll get this done." So, that's what's kind of.
Let's ask the listeners what they think of Real Madrid.
Yeah. What do you think of Real Madrid? Put it. Drop us a comment in the comments. I'm interested, or tell us who, apart from like Liverpool's main rivals, who you're most hated.
Don't
club.
say hated. That's
hated
a very negative thing to say in a podcast.
Which club irritates you?
Irks you.
Arsenal irritate me. I find them very.
Did you find as though they, it's the old, I never did do the tweet, did I? So at the end of the season, I was going to do. So we got the end of the season. Man City. Congratulations to Man City for winning the league. United for winning the FA Cup. Liverpool for winning the League Cup, and Arsenal for winning Photographer of the Year. I just didn't do it in the end.
I just find that they're a team of tryhards, Arsenal.
But then again, they've
got a dog called Win.
But
they've got
a good manager. They've got Gunnosaurus. Come on,
yeah,
Gunnosaurus is amazing. He's probably the best football mascot of all time.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a problem in that sense. But again, they have the false sense of entitlement. I think a little bit. They feel it's like Liverpool had it when they stopped winning stuff. Everyone was like, "Well, we should be winning." Why? I never really understood it.
Yeah.
So,
Theo, who irks you? Which club?
He's got to come on. This is an opportunity to 2-foot somebody.
Really 2-foot someone. I don't really get that fed up with anyone, to be honest.
Come on,
you get irritated by Real Madrid always seeming to beat Liverpool. You get irritated by Manchester City always winning. It's just inevitable. It makes it all a bit boring.
Yeah.
So
Sweden national team. There you go. I'm Portugal. There's two.
Portugal.
So I will be Portugal
They're a good
again.
team now, aren't they?
Yeah, Portugal. Love the people. Been there loads of times on holiday. It's great.
Been there
the
a lot of times.
Stadiums, football stadiums are brilliant. The weather's great. The food's great. Individually, the football's almost always great. But put them all together in that team, and I just want to punch them all.
JD says, I hate them. Horrible club and always have. Proper something house players like Ramos. Tell us what you really think. Carl De Chenu, which is a great name, says, I've been listening on Spotify for the last year. It's the first time I've watched on YouTube, and I expected Ian to be way older from the way you lads treat him.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ian's 48.
48, yeah. How old are you? Come on, let's
I was
out with it.
36 on Friday.
36, and how old are you?
31.
I think Theo's the one that looks a lot older than he is, let's be honest.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Carl, for tuning in on YouTube. It's much appreciated. We've got plenty of questions coming in. I will get to them. I'm making a note of them. We will go through many of them. Before we do, let's just talk Van Dijk, because I think it ties in with Leny Yoro. Sorry, Clark Kent. Clark Kent. It's just said Martin Odegaard. I don't.
He's the photographer of the year.
Yeah. As photographer. I thought we'd talk Van Dijk because I think it ties into Leny Yoro and a conversation we were having earlier. Obviously, some Saudi interest in Virgil van Dijk.
Is there?
Ian,
Is there?
Is there?
Well, let's put it this
Saudi
way:
interest.
Liverpool haven't had any kind of interest shown. There's certainly no approach made for Van Dijk from. It's Al Nassr, isn't it? They're the club that's been linked. That's Ronaldo's club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Arne's club.
So there's that. The reports came out in the Middle East last night that he sat down. They're meant to have sat down with Van Dijk's representatives, but by all accounts, the representatives are kind of like not so sure about that. So whether it's somebody who's pretending to be the representatives, I don't know. Or it could just be a little push towards seeing what Van Dijk actually thinks. You know, that's the way these things work. And you know, Van Dijk's one of 3 players who's out of contract at the end of next season. He hasn't signed a new deal yet. Liverpool haven't quite started talks properly yet, in the sense of trying to get him finished, and they won't be until after the Euros anyway. Same with Trent, and we know the Salah situation as well. But from I can tell you now that a couple of weeks ago, Van Dijk said I'm going to be here next season anyway. So if it would take something remarkable for Liverpool to entertain that, and also it'd leave them having to sign another centre back.
When's the Dutch's first game? Because if he's not on pre-match, he'll be doing a mix zone, won't he? Yeah. So I'd imagine we'll hear his thoughts the next couple of days.
That's Sunday. Yeah,
I'd be absolutely stunned if Van Dijk left Liverpool.
I don't think he wants to go. No.
But you said, I was saying all this. If you'd have asked me a year ago if Jordan Henderson was leaving Liverpool, I'd have been stunned. And it can happen quickly, can't it? I mean, last year Liverpool did not plan to lose Jordan Henderson and Fabinho, and they both left in one summer to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, bringing it back to Real Madrid. There is a reason. There is a thought here. There is a thought.
Even I couldn't do that.
So, right, we've seen this amazing team that they've built, full of world-class players, and one by one, most of them have moved on when the time's come. But then they've got those couple of absolute elite players who are still doing it well into their mid-late 30s. I'm looking at Luka Modric, Toni Kroos. So I think for that elite player, you can make the exceptions and keep them. And I think Van Dijk's one of those. Salah's one of those. Whereas you look at Mane and you look at Firmino going out to Saudi, it's a different argument, isn't it? They're not quite at that elite level at the very top end of the game. It would be a surprise if he goes, but we'd say the same thing now about Trent Alexander-Arnold. It just depends what happens with the contract talks. Like, if they don't agree terms, he's going to go. They're going to have to find a way to make it happen, like they did with Gini Wijnaldum, like they've done with Emre Can. Liverpool.
Yeah, but I'd still keep
them. You'd rather keep them.
And let him go on a free next year.
But then Liverpool have done that for so many players now. It's what makes best football sense for them, what makes best business sense for them. And they always seem to just take it a year at a time, don't they?
Yeah.
Like Klopp's always spoken about at the start of the season. We make the commitment for the next 12 months, and then we'll see what happens again in the year's time, what happens again after that. Surely they're not going to lose all 3. They're going to have to keep someone there out of Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah. Van Dijk, he's just the captain. He's part of the club now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think
and with a Dutch manager, or Dutch head coach coming in, surely there's going to be some sort of a relationship there that's going to blossom well too.
The difference between Henderson and Van Dijk as well is that Van Dijk is going to be one of the first names on the team sheet next season, and Henderson, part of the reason he left is because he knew he wasn't going to be playing all the time, and he wasn't playing all the time anyway by then.
I think Van Dijk will be absolutely vital to Liverpool over the next 12 months. Like you say, Dutch head coach coming in, so that connection. He's obviously the club captain, but we spoke about before, if Liverpool are going to sign a centre half, whether it's Leny Yoro or in the mould of that sort of young centre back, plus Joel Quansah stepping up, Matip leaving, Konate's still fairly young in his career. I just think he's just too important. You can't, especially in that area of pitch, can't have so many inexperienced players, and I think they'll learn so much from Van Dijk. The same with Alisson. The same reasons Alisson's absolutely vital, because having him behind that defence is vital. So
is it vital to have a goalkeeper like Adrian on the books then, because he's very experienced?
No comment. We'll move on.
This is why my argument is: do they definitely need a younger centre back? Like we've seen him linked with the Stuttgart captain this week, haven't we, Anton? As an older head, Ragnar Klavan came in and did that fourth choice job really well. If you're getting someone like that, you're not blocking Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa's higher up in the pecking order. Giving Konate that chance to get a run of games, try and stay clear of injury. Joe Gomez can get some games in his favoured positions as well. Maybe they don't need to just go for a teenager, but then if one comes up and
I think we've given the answer there by they do want to sign Yoro. So
yeah,
I think Liverpool have.
They've been linked with so many centre backs though, haven't they? And they're not all 18-year-old wonder kids, so they're obviously going to have this wider scope of looking at what the market's like. Same as they did with the holding midfielders last year, where they ended up with Endo.
And I think Liverpool, thanks for watching, guys. I've asked why Liverpool are looking at Yoro if he's not a left-footed centre-back. Well, would you just say that's because they just think he's...
because he's dead good at football.
He's really, really good.
That's
and
it,
it's an opportunity to buy...
A really good player
Yeah.
for not much money, because he's going to be out of contract. That's I think they're all thinking that.
You don't definitely need a left-sided one if it's still going to be like a flat back four sort of thing. Because Van Dijk, yes, he plays on the left-hand side, and you're saying you want that long-term replacement for him. But Kwanzaa's that player. Kwanzaa can play on the left-hand side. He's only really been on the right when he's played alongside Van Dijk. When he's with Konate Gomez, I think he's on the other.
I mean,
so he can do it.
What Liverpool could do is, to be fair, they could sign him and then loan him out to Real Madrid for a year. That'd work.
I think he's got a bit of boots on before. It's on to Connor. So he's got a bit of Saliba. Sorry,
literally, for anybody who doesn't know, you probably won't. They look nothing like each other.
Yeah. He's got a bit of Saliba about him. Arsenal signed Saliba for about 30 million when he was 18.
He went on loan three times.
He went on loan 3 times back to France, but obviously that patience has paid off, because he's turned into one of the best centre halves around.
But not good enough to get in the France team.
Yeah, which is interesting. I'm going to go through some of the questions, because there's quite a few. Let's get to some of the questions before we talk Taylor. There is a reason why we talk Taylor, by the way, if you're not a Taylor Swift fan. Right.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, well there's...
I might as well just walk out the room at this point.
We'll go on to that in a minute. Yeah.
Who do you think Liverpool are most likely to sign as a new wide player? There's loads of talk of Bakayoko from PSV. That's from Nathan Quinn.
I've absolutely no idea. Let's be honest. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know all the names of all the ones. I wouldn't even know who I would prefer.
That's what
I would like to see the lad from West Ham.
Kudos.
Yeah, because I saw him play for Ajax against Liverpool. Scored, didn't he, at Anfield? Yeah. So you just thought at the time, he's good, and one to keep an eye on. And he's done way better at West Ham than you would have possibly thought for someone who's just come into the Premier League for the first time. And I think a little like Doku, isn't he? That's at Man City. And I think interesting that it was, while he was a bit in and out the team, by the time it got to the end of the season, that Tottenham game, and it was him who came off the bench and made a bit of a difference and helped City over the line. So I would be happy to see him. If it had been 3 years younger, I'd have been happy to see Jared Bowen as well, but you're not going to buy him now.
Yeah, I love Jared Bowen, but exactly that. I think...
haven't seen Bakayoko play, to be honest, so I can't really comment on him.
Yeah.
Who else has been linked? There's been a few more.
We've talked a lot about Anthony Gordon on this podcast.
Oh, Anthony Gordon.
He's the other side.
But I think he's the other side. Yeah. I think, as I've said, probably next year, if Liverpool are going to sign him.
Yeah.
You could say the same for Kudos, though, because he's got the release clause next year.
Yeah, but West Ham aren't in Europe, and they've got a new manager, and this is a very good time. If West Ham want to get some decent money for him, they might sell him now.
I think as well, sometimes when they have a release clause the following year, it encourages them, like you say, to sell them, to override that and get better money, and it gives the interested club a chance to negotiate, doesn't it? So Nathan Quinn also asked what other centre-backs could Liverpool be looking at? Jean-Claire Tabido, I think he's been linked with them.
I can't see them getting him purely because of the fact it's such a miraculous club. It's Nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be very petty there and go, I've got an interest in Manchester United, you can't have him.
Yeah. It's interesting that about multi-clubs, isn't it, that we've discussed before. Obviously,
yes, I'm not on board with that. We're on board with Nord. I'm not on board with multi-clubs.
Tell us why.
Well, for all the reasons that you said, I think just stick to one. You can have multi-sports. Don't have a problem with that. Say, like FSG have got at the moment, say that Ineos have got that with, the cycling team and this, that and the other, and they have teams in different sports. You could have rugby, you could have whatever, American football, baseball. But I don't like that. But yeah, like Red Bull. Red Bull's pushing it with all the football. And football is the thing they came to last as well, wasn't it? Remember, it wasn't that long ago. People were like, what are they doing? Now they got what, Salzburg, they got Leipzig, got a bit of Leeds.
New York.
Yeah, so not for me. Stick to one of each. Should be the rule. I've spoken.
Few other good questions. Carl, 98k, has asked, when do we think Slot will start work? Well, he technically has. He's in IB3 at the moment.
Didn't we get asked this the other day?
I think get asked a lot because people are wanting to know when he's going to hold a press conference, that sort of thing. But
what are we on now?
July
14th. 2 weeks.
First week of July.
Yeah. And we're expecting a press conference and all the rest of it. Is it a bit of a concern that the backroom staff have not all been recruited? Still quite a few roles to be filled. Either of you two concerned, Theo?
Not really. There's still 2-3 weeks left to sort it all out.
And that's what they will be doing now,
yeah.
sorting those types of things out.
That's maybe part of the reason why they haven't done a press conference yet as well. So have everyone on before you can speak about it. There's been the reports this week that one of the assistants is struggling to get a work permit. But it's not as though Liverpool would just bring in the entire Feyenoord backroom team with them anyway. They were obviously, we've seen the LinkedIn adverts, they're looking elsewhere. There's a lot of people to replace. But when you look at Klopp's team, they didn't all come with him, did they? He built it around by good, knowledgeable people.
Pep Linders was already there.
Pep Linders was already there. He promoted his way up. John Achterberg had worked his way up. He was someone who we've spoken about in this podcast before. Maybe didn't have the reputation at first. Fans were against him for like Karius and Mingele and all that. But then he's proven how knowledgeable he was and how good he was in that role. Liverpool have people they can promote into some of these roles and then just see who steps up elsewhere.
I think I think Liverpool will be building. And this goes for the whole club because there's another question that we'll lead into. Building a structure where, let's say, Slot left in a year's time, he doesn't then leave and leave a massive hole. There are certain roles that they fill that stay there, and that's why I think they've appointed this head of goalkeeping, haven't they, FSG, whose first job is to look for a goalkeeping coach for Liverpool. And I guess that's not a goalkeeping coach just to go alongside Slot. It's a goalkeeping coach
Klopp that he's
for the next 10
working
years.
with them for a number of years, hasn't he? Because he was like a consultant with them. So he's obviously already someone who's got that relationship with the club.
Yeah. So I think that's a reason why maybe the backroom staff is taking a bit longer.
Going back to the backroom staff, 2 of them aren't coming or said that they can't come because of work permits, isn't it? Yeah. Brexit.
Yeah. Brexit.
Yeah. So that Nigel Farage has got a lot to answer for.
Yeah. We should have driven around a big bus saying backroom staff.
But it's probably that'll be them throwing the stuff at him this week. I can't get to Liverpool because of you.
Throwing a milkshake at him. More milkshakes at Farage, please.
Farage, come on, pronounce his name correctly. That's how it's properly pronounced.
Is it?
Yeah. He likes to think differently for some reason. You'd have thought that.
Paul Lee says, "How does this transfer list get compiled? Does the manager give a background list to approve, or the other way around?"
It's kind of both.
This year
it'll be more one way than the other. They'll have irons in the fire. They'll say we've got these people. Like there was a story years and years and years ago when Gerard Houllier started, and he got told, Peter Robinson was then the chief executive of Liverpool, and they got told, "We got you a little gift. You're getting Stefan Honcho from Blackburn at the end of the season." So he was told that signed him, and of course Honcho ended up being quite an important player for the first team, as it were, of the Houllier year. In fact, the whole way through, wasn't he?
Yeah. I liked Honcho a lot.
Benitez just jibbed him straight away, yeah.
Remember, he scored in the friendly. I think if we had a podcast about the most underrated players, certainly of my lifetime at Liverpool, he
good save in the FA Cup final as well.
Two
cracking
good
save. Yeah, 2 good saves. Well, one of them was you couldn't. That wouldn't be a penalty now, but this first one definitely will be.
Send it around the post. Yeah. Brilliant.
It's like Didier Man, wasn't he, in the fact that he always looked knackered.
I was going to say that him and Joe Cole as well. The three
Joe
of them
Cole always looked pregnant, and the pregnant woman.
Don't mention Joe Cole's Theo. He's upset him once already this year.
That's last year now. We move on.
We've moved on.
Fixture release day soon.
What was the question?
So the question was, how does the transfer list get compiled?
Yeah, I think this year it will be more the recruitment team, simply because, as I say, they'll have the big list. They'll have done work on certain transfers. They'll know the situations in terms of release clauses and such as with Yoro, what everybody else is thinking. So then they'll say, right, which one should we go for? And that's all the way down to, you look when Klopp first came in, and the very often told story, which I'm going to say it again, that he wanted to sign Julian Brandt from Dortmund. It was no one Dortmund then, was he? Where was he?
No,
it
was Leverkusen.
Was it Leverkusen? Yeah. He didn't want to come because Liverpool hadn't qualified for the Champions. I think that's right.
Yeah,
Champions League, and then they ended up signing.
Had it the year before as well, didn't they? Mane and Goetze.
Yeah. So they were in the Champions League then. It was the Goetze one that they weren't in the Champions League. So they were in, but he said he didn't want to come
because the World Cup. That was it.
That was it. Yeah. And obviously they said to him, well, if there's this guy, Roma, called Mohamed Salah, he's quite good. Had a look at him, well, let's do it. So it works both ways.
I think quite often they will have, and maybe not so much this summer, but going into the future, Slot will say, right, we need a right back, and they will have a list of different people.
I think
that
all
perform
clubs have
at
that, though, don't they?
thing.
All
And
clubs have that.
And
So it'll be interesting
it's
to see.
But then it's a group decision rather than one person.
But what's
going,
interesting as well
"It
is that
must
when
be this
Klopp
person."
came in, he didn't bring any Dortmund players with him, did he?
No.
And he said he wasn't going to do it, and he didn't anyway, even though he did try, obviously,
Yeah.
a bit later on. But
It was only 2 though, wasn't it?
yeah.
Kurtz
And I
and
can't see Slot taking millions of final players. Just can't see it, and unless they were already part of the list that the recruitment team were drawing up.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it all works with him being head coach, because that does put more of it onto the recruitment team, and then it'll be like A, B, C, which one of them do you prefer? Make the move for them. Like we've seen the reports this week that obviously Ten Hag's kept his job at United, but the transfer responsibility has been taken out of his hands a little bit, and he's going to focus more on coaching, and you can make your own observations about some of his players that he's brought in, who he's worked with before. I don't think there have been many links with any that, apart from the was it the vice captain at Feyenoord, gets Strude. I can't say his name.
The right back.
Yeah, the right back.
Yeah.
He can also play centre back.
Well, there was the thing that that was a Newcastle-led thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which we've done. We did the person who, by all accounts, go into the comments, we can't pronounce him. The Newcastle winger, who's
Minty.
the Gambian
Oh,
international.
Minty. Sounds like a mag, doesn't it? Minty. Mike D says, can you see a summer window where Liverpool sign nobody? Basetic and Morton contribute now, so maybe no Thiago replacement, no Matip, but Quansah has emerged. Gomez is fine as a centre back. Sepp van den Berg being an option.
No,
not this year.
Chance. No chance.
Liverpool certainly need players. I definitely think that some of the young players he's talking about, Basetic will feature. Obviously, we've talked about Bobby Clark on this podcast a lot, and Quansah has emerged as a real option. But Liverpool made no secret of the fact they still need.
Well, they would have got one
players.
last year if they hadn't lost both Fabinho and Henderson. Because they
Yeah.
were looking, Klopp said that as recently as was it May before the season ended, that we want a centre back, we're looking. And then it just happened that to focus more on the midfield.
Yeah. Tyler Morton's an interesting one, isn't he? We have not really discussed him a lot, but he had a really good season with Hull. Do you think he's someone that could feature?
Well, I've seen him when he was playing for the under-18s, and again, he was always the one that they thought was the best player in that team, and he's ended up he's already got himself a career in the Championship, as it were, but he'll feel as though he can do a job in the Premier League. Whether or not that's going to be at Liverpool, not sure. I would like to see him play some games in the summer, because if you've had 2 loans in the Championship and done well, you don't want to be sent back for a third one. He's either
Wilson, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're either going to go and play for Liverpool, give yourself a chance, or you're going to go on loan to a Premier League team, or you're going to get sold. One of those 3. I wouldn't send him back to the Championship again. Pointless now.
Formation change will suit him. Because he came through and he was an 8, but they were putting him as a 6 when he got that breakthrough at Liverpool. But he's done really well in a double pivot at Hull. I've seen him do it the same thing. He's done 21s a couple of times, and obviously he's stepped up into their team and he's doing well. So you do want to see what he can do.
Sorry, I've just had a mental question and distracted me. Hi lads, great podcast, but I was at the York Barbican recently and was looking at Ian Doyle playing a mean saxophone. Is he really in the average white band?
No, I'm in Finch. That's the name of my band.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't play the saxophone?
No.
I'd like visions of...
Why do I look like so many people, by the way?
I had visions of
I've got like
Doyle,
such a generic face.
like a Ron Swanson playing like with a secret saxophone career there. Great question. Thanks, Soulboy Fran.
Can we ask our viewers who Joe and Theo look like? Let us know by the end of this podcast.
Can do. We haven't had too much hate. Bit of hate for Real Madrid. Someone saying Napoli. I think that's fair enough.
Napoli?
They don't like Napoli.
Well, you don't like Naples.
No, hang on. That's just the lunatic fans that they've got some of them. Naples the place or the team.
Few other decent questions. Would be a good move for Liverpool to hijack Branthwaite from Man United. I would absolutely love it. Yeah, I would absolutely love Liverpool sign Jared Branthwaite.
If only PSV had signed him permanently, then he'd have been a Liverpool player within like 18 months.
But yeah, I don't think Liverpool.
I think the only thing about Branthwaite as well is that it wasn't Everton for absolutely ages because they got him from Carlisle, so it doesn't really have the kind of say if you'd have signed plugging at Rooney. That was never going to happen anyway. But he's kind of got the long link with Everton, and it wouldn't be as bad for him to do it. But like you look at the last 2 did it, Barmby and Al Xavier.
Yeah. It's just not going to happen, is it? Especially with I think if the other clubs weren't interested or weren't willing to pay the money, then perhaps they'd stand a chance. But
Depends how much United annoy them in negotiations.
True. Did we ever find out why Darwin took down all his Liverpool photos? It's just Darwin being Darwin, wasn't it?
Yeah, Darwinius.
Yeah.
Nunes got a Nunes.
Yeah. It'd be interesting that, though, because I was looking the other day, actually, at his Instagram, thinking, has he put any back up? And he obviously still has Liverpool in his bio and stuff like that.
You might think like, oh no, bit embarrassing now. I can't really go back and do them.
Has he still got the comments limited on him?
Ian and Theo look like C-3PO and R2-D2 next to each other.
Now you see,
Joe should wear a Jedi cloak on the next live pod.
You see, now the mistake they've made there is they've included me. No, just want these two.
I can see the C-3PO comparisons for you a little bit. R2-D2 for you.
Well, hang on. So this is the guy just makes a load of noises, quite just that kind of thing.
Well, that's just taking the time.
Well, there is a height difference, so it's not the worst. It's not the best.
Hang on, he's about as tall as you are.
Yeah, they weren't saying me and Joe; they were saying me and you.
No, what I'm saying is that it could have been me and you.
Can I slap Theo into the back of my car? Just sticking out.
Come on, we're losing the. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Right. Taylor Swift. What's your favourite Taylor Swift song?
Probably the very best of Taylor Swift. Sorry. Which one? I don't know.
You must know a Taylor Swift song.
I do know some Taylor Swift songs because I've had to learn them. What's the one about? What's that one about where she writes about her ex-boyfriend? All right, that's right. That's all of them. Blank Space is a good song.
Blank Space.
Is it Trouble? Is it called Trouble? There's another song called Trouble. That's all right. Yeah.
Cool
Anti-Hero is a very good song, actually.
Anti-Hero's good.
Yeah. I'm showing far too much knowledge now, and I better shut up.
Theo, what's your favourite Taylor Swift song?
I'm the complete opposite. I have no knowledge whatsoever.
Name the 3 bands that you know.
Can't even do that, can I? Put me on the spot.
Name me 3 non-football related songs. Anything.
Fleetwood Mac, The Chain.
Hang on, that's sport.
I
did say football. I did say football.
Theo notoriously doesn't like or know anything about music.
He believes that. What did you say before? That music is of no relevance or something on that. You kind of suggested that, didn't you?
No, I said all this obsession with Taylor Swift at the moment is supporting my belief that I don't need to be interested in it.
Wow.
Well, first of all, before we do talk a little bit of Taylor, we've still got loads of great questions coming in, so just keep them coming and we'll get to them. I just do want to touch on Taylor just for a minute. Love story. After watching, if you've not watched The Bear, great TV series. There's one episode where Love Story features, and it's a super episode and a good song. But Taylor Swift comes to Liverpool. I was walking through town earlier, and the town was absolutely buzzing. There's Taylor murals on the walls and people queued up. But I mean, this is. Do our FSG get enough credit for putting in place this plan where Anfield holds these concerts in the summer, and this is the biggest one yet? The money Liverpool must be making, the exposure they must be making.
You're getting some FSG comments off
the
back of this.
The short answer to that is no. The short answer is no, they're not getting any credits, and they never will.
Yeah.
Because for that anyway, because I also think, I seem to remember when it first came out that they were going to have concerts, not Taylor Swift, but 2018, was it? 2018 or 19? I think it was 18, wasn't it?
The Eagles, didn't they?
Yeah. And obviously it was more, the locals quite rightly, neighbours pointed out, well, hang on, we've just had to put it with an entire football season, which we knew when we moved here, but so that's part of the deal. But now we're having to put up with 3 or 4 events, so I think obviously that's been a long time ago, and they've obviously had discussions, this, that, and the other. If they are not too happy, they certainly don't come out and say anything as much as they used to. So there obviously some kind of settlement's been reached there. But yeah, I think it's good for Liverpool. I think it's going to be interesting when Everton's ground's finished, because they'll obviously want a bit of a piece of that. And the Liverpool, what's it called these days? M&S Bank Arena, used to be the Echo Arena. Yeah. That's big, but it's not big enough for the bigger. Seats, it's not big. Mm-hmm. And that's what these. If Liverpool can offer it, Man City do it, don't they? They've had stuff at the Etihad for a long time. Old Trafford's had concerts. Old Trafford, the cricket ground's had concerts. So I suppose you could argue that there's enough space for everybody to get a bit. But Liverpool under FSG have stolen a march because they've obviously made a name for themselves. And of course, it's now become, with Taylor Swift being there, it's a venue where there will be people in the future going, hang on, she played 3 nights at Anfield. I want to go and play there.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? And I think that's huge for the football club. It's huge for the city.
Where was she last year when they wanted to buy Jude and couldn't afford him?
Yeah, well, I look at the city and think even Everton Stadium having bands there as well would be great for the city, and that walking through town before, you hear a lot of voices from all over the world. Taylor Swift fans will come and follow her. I mean, it's incredible for the city. So I think it's great what FSG have done with the stadium. It leads me on to another question from the Grim Sleeper. I've got 2 young kids, so I know how that feels. And he says, what's the chances of announcing an investigation into expanding the COP in the next 5 years or so? Definitely needs doing, but is the will there? I can't see it, really.
The reward, it probably doesn't... Basically, it would cost a lot of money to do, and the actual difference that it would make to the income wouldn't be particularly high. They've got more chance of changing the centenary. Well, I'm sure I am the Kemlyn, the centenary, the Sir Kenny Dalglish stand, that one. That's what I would think of doing next. But they spent that much money on 2 big stands over the past 8 years and a new training ground.
Yeah.
And then buying one back.
Yes, I don't think there's any kind of great desire to do it at the moment. I mean, to be honest, but it hasn't even technically been finished yet. It's only going to be the start of next season where they get the full capacity from the new Anfield Road in, so with the hospitality as well.
They're saying Taylor's just broken the record.
Are they?
Taylor's broke the record for what? Sorry?
Attendance record.
Well, has she? Is there more than 60,000?
I think that got. I think they were talking before in the office saying that's not true. It was a lie.
Oh, right, okay.
A lie being peddled by the Swifteries.
Yeah. Because basically cold. One stand can't be open for Swift.
And they can't fit on the pitch.
Yeah. So
apparently there's some people in the Anfield Road end in the corner. They're just watching the side of a screen.
I don't know. But going back to the COP, I just think, like you're right, it would be very difficult to expand the COP because of the way it is. I think, it would, like you say, it lost a lot of money. And funnily enough, the centenary, I still think of it, the centenary, was the newer of the stands, but now feels...
It's the oldest.
It
is the oldest one. It is the oldest one. But the COP was after that.
But I just think, I almost think like Anfield's certainly big enough for the time being. You don't see many stadiums. I mean, I know Old Trafford is, no Wembley is, but ultimately they're all around 60,000, and that's probably for a reason, isn't it, Theo?
Yeah. You think with Liverpool as well, travel reasons to get there. Like, it's not the easiest in terms of getting to the city centre, and no train station and that. They've got to still manage it accordingly. Goes on to main roads and that. It's not as though they've just built it in the middle of nowhere, or if they've gone like Stanley Park or something. I think that there was talk, wasn't there, when they finished the last one, that they were going to look at the Sir Kenny Dalglish one next.
Yeah.
But how much bigger can you make it?
Yeah, I think you're looking at like at least 5 years before Liverpool
more than that.
Even
I
think about
at least
10. But I'm saying even think about like starting to make plans.
Because 10, and then you're looking at the centenary would be 40 years old, and then it's due for a renewal anyway.
Yeah. No Woe says, great work, guys. Been listening to the years. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it. Simicast, is he sure to stay this summer? He's
not sure to say no. In fact, if all the kind of players who's not been mentioned in terms of leaving, I think he's one that could go. Simply because he's fallen that far down the pecking order through no fault of his own, through Bukayo Saka's fault, basically, injuring him, and then Gomez doing really well when he went to left back, and Robertson coming back. That I think if a good bid comes in for him, Liverpool might accept, but more importantly, he might go, I want to play, I'm 27, 28, or I think it's 27 actually. No, 28 actually. I think I want to be playing regular first team football. You know, he's had how many years at Liverpool? 4, won quite a few trophies. You know, scored the winner in one FA Cup final and set up the winner in another League Cup final. So he's definitely left his mark, but he's never really been a regular. And if he went, then I think it would be fair play to him, fair play to everybody.
Hashtag God's plan.
Yes, Greek Scouser.
But no, I think if you can get the money back, what they paid, like 12 million for him?
It wasn't that much. It wasn't loads, was it?
No.
It was an affordable fee.
If you can get about 12 to 15,
if you can
get about 12 to 15 back for him. I kind of think he only ever came in as a good backup for Robertson. I almost think when you sign those types of players, there's a bit of a sell-by date on them, because they obviously want to go off and play. They can't really keep their form because they kind of psychologically they must know, mustn't they, that I'm not getting in the team here. No matter how well I play, I'm not going to stay. So, what do you think? If you got the same money back for him?
Yeah, I think he's someone you can cash in on. Like, you've also got Owen Beck coming through, who's done really well on loan at Dundee. He could maybe follow that Conor Bradley example. For a number of years, it was, Liverpool need a new right back. They need someone who can free Trent up or just be that backup. And that conversation has just gone completely now because of Bradley. So maybe Beck can have that same impact. Obviously, we've spoken about centre backs already. I think that's
You're a fan of Owen Beck, aren't you? I mean, is it just because he had a bit of time at Bolton?
Didn't play, did he?
But you are a fan of Owen Beck, aren't you?
He's a decent player. He's not stood out as much for the 21s when I've seen him as Bradley. He's a bit more lightweight, but it's taken him a little bit longer. But he seems to be getting there. He's done well that's why he got the Premier League debut, didn't he, against Bournemouth back in January. And they've got other options there. They'll focus on centre-back this summer. They've got Quansah come through. They'll bring in whoever. And then there is going to have to be a big conversation about left-back in the next couple of years because Andy Robertson's not getting any younger. And while
he's starting to pick up injuries, isn't he?
He's starting to pick up injuries because he limped off in training, didn't he, the other day? I know he's supposed to be fit for Scotland tonight.
He trained the next day.
Yeah, I know. That's what
There's nothing wrong with him.
he said he's been carrying something, didn't he? Something like most of the second half of the season, really, since he's come back. And
yeah, so it's not been easy for him. But you don't look at Costa Tsimikas and go, that can be a natural passing on the baton. He's not going to become the first choice with Robertson, becoming more of the backup. You're going to need a first choice left back coming in, and there is going to have to be changes there at some point in the not too distant future.
Owen Beck had 2 really bad loan moves the season before this one that's just finished, and I think that put him back quite a bit. So that'd be interesting because obviously I saw him play quite a lot for the 18s and the 21s, and it was Beck and Bradley flying down the wings, and both of them ended up playing more or less on the wing at some point. So it will be see Beck. He seems to have kind of rebuilt it a little bit. Kilmarnock, hasn't he? I seem to have forgotten. Where was he? Kilmarnock,
Dundee.
Dundee. Sorry, Dundee. Where he ended up, I do know he ended up in the team of the season, didn't he? Yeah. So he's obviously done something right there when you consider he was only there for half a season.
Well, Celtic and Rangers wanted him as well, and obviously they just pick up the best players from anywhere else in Scotland and Liverpool. You make sense to look at him this summer and see what he can do with them.
Right, a couple more questions. Clark Kent asked another super question.
You sure it's him though? He's a journalist. He should know.
Yeah, he said about Yoro. Is it almost a bit like Martin Odegaard going? He went to Madrid really young, didn't he? No game time. Look at him. I actually kind of.
Yeah, Odegaard's not the only player that's happened, but that shows you an example of how long Real Madrid have been doing that.
Yeah, and I also think that should be Liverpool's sell. Is like you come here. I mean, you're 18. If he wants to go and play for Real Madrid, if he's good enough, there'll be time to play for Real Madrid. And I think.
But then Real Madrid just go look at Rodrigo.
I suppose so.
Ada Militao, Vinicius. They're getting Endrick, aren't they?
Yeah, there's loads of them.
So there's definitely it works both ways, I suppose. But I think that could be Liverpool's sell. They could say, look, you'll get more game time here, and you can develop here and still go to a club like Real Madrid later in your career. Thanks for that question, Clark. I won't tell anyone who you really are. There's one more that I wanted to get to. How patient do you have to be with Slot? And then he's mentioned Eric Ten Hag, which I think he's just saying that.
How patient? Well, if he's not been doing very well at the end of his 3rd year, then you have to have a conversation.
How you just look for signs, I think, in a manager. I don't necessarily think you will judge Slot next season on achievements. Klopp's first year, they finished 7th in the league, and the signs were Man City away, great performance. They went and beat Chelsea away, didn't they? And there were games, and they beat Everton at home 4-0, and they played really well. And there were things that the team were doing. Obviously, I know they got to 2 finals, but the things that the team were doing that you thought, with some of his own players and with some time, they can start doing this more consistently. That's what I would be looking for next season.
It'd be more what he's doing on the training ground than what he's doing on the pitch, because you could understand if results are a bit inconsistent when the players are getting used to the methods, maybe slight tweak in formation, but if they're fully on board on the training pitch going, I can really buy into what we're doing, then you think the only way is up. You give them time. It's when there isn't that confidence there, the players are uncertain, their fallings out, that you start to question it. And we have seen that at Manchester United, haven't we? The players having those disagreements there. But Liverpool just seem like such a better managed club these days than United, which seems very strange to say compared to 15, 20 years ago.
The United thing's interesting because ultimately the players lost and the manager won. Yeah. Which is what, regardless of who you support, good. Yeah. That's the hierarchy and the way it should be.
I think, funnily enough, for Liverpool, they've sacked people, Benitez and Houllier and others, but I don't necessarily think you have so many managers that have come into Liverpool and you've seen straight away the signs that they aren't a good manager. Hodgson was one, and you'd watch it. The performances were really bad, and I think, all right.
The players that were brought in were a lot worse than the players who'd left.
And you could tell there was never a feeling that even though they were having a few tough results, that those results could turn. And I felt like that with Rodgers maybe in his last year. In Rodgers'
Sure, he was
first
out
year,
with him in the first year before Coutinho and Sturridge came in, but that turned it, didn't it?
Yeah, and there were performances, weren't they, when those players came in. But in the last year, the performances weren't there. So I think for Slot this year, it'll just be about, if they can stay in the Champions League, I think that would be
Top
good
4,
achievement. Top
Champions
4.
League quarterfinals minimal, and
Yeah.
have a good run in one of the cups. And
Yeah.
you're happy. That's a nice starting point.
Yeah. I think we will leave it there. Thank you for all the questions. Loads of great questions. We'll keep them coming in. They're great help, these questions, during the summer months. So we'll be back on
Did you
Monday.
just add what your favourite Taylor Swift song was?
I said Love Story.
Do you know any more?
Do I know any more?
Yeah.
I like Cruel Summer. That's all right.
Actually, I'd forgotten about that
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
What was
that's all right.
what was the one you mentioned first of all? I do like that one.
Blank Space.
Blank Space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blank Space. And JD in our comments mentioned Shake It Off, which is a good song.
Again, she done
And
loads
The
of them.
Rock did that on Lip Sync Battle, and it is hilarious, and I've seen that. It was hilarious. Wheatus performed that last night. I went to see Wheatus last night.
You did see Wheatus, yeah.
And
Is that why you got the stamp on your hand still?
Yeah, I've still got. Yeah, I have showered. Can't get rid of got a t-shirt. and
This
stuff.
week, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not not this morning.
But yeah, loads of great questions. Thank you so much. Give us a like, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or elsewhere, please give us some stars. Leave a review. I love to read them. It's really good.
I'd also like to see, sorry to interrupt, who Joe Rimmer looks like for the next podcast.
They've always said a Jedi Knight.
No, they
That's what they said.
didn't say you'd look like one. They said
specifically
you
got
may as
something.
well be one. Didn't say you look like one.
Said that you
You
two look like-
basically you must have very unique features, is what we're learning.
These aren't the droids you're looking for. Clark Kent, thank you for reading my question. Thank you for asking a question. Top FA Cup and top 4 is a must. I wouldn't say the FA Cup. Call it the Carabao. Thank you all so much. We'll be back on Monday for more questions. We will see you then. Ta-ra. Have a good weekend.